Elevators are part of our everyday lives, but sometimes they become scenes of tragedy. In this video, we'll look at 5 real stories of elevator accidents that turned fatal. These disturbing events remind us of the hidden dangers in the devices we use every day. On the morning of August 16, 2003, Christus St. Joseph Hospital in Houston, Texas, was active with daily routines. Dr. Hitoshi Christopher Nikaido, a surgery resident aspiring to become a missionary doctor, was among the staff. The hospital's elevators, including elevator number 14, had recently been undergoing maintenance, with number 14 being out of service for 4 days prior. Physician's assistant Karen Leah Steinau, who had avoided elevator number 14 during repairs, noticed that its out-of-service sign was gone. Relieved, she decided to take the elevator, as her long shifts made stair climbing exhausting. Dr. Nikaido, also waiting nearby, asked if the elevator was functional. After confirming, he stepped inside right behind Steinau. However, as he entered, the doors abruptly shut on him. Elevators usually reopen if they detect an obstruction, but this time the doors did not. Nikaido was trapped by the shoulders as the elevator began to move, pinning him fatally. The force was so severe that his body was left below in the shaft, while his head remained inside the elevator with Steinau. Steinau, traumatized and trapped, tried frantically to stop the elevator by pressing every button. The elevator finally stopped just 4 feet below the 5th floor, and it took over an hour for emergency responders to free her. She later told authorities she was haunted by the look in Nikaido's eyes during the tragic incident. Dr. Nikaido's case was not isolated. Elevator accidents in Texas, especially in hospitals, were distressingly common. A few years before this incident, a young construction worker in Dallas suffered a similar fate when he checked an elevator shaft's location, only for a descending elevator to trap him fatally. In another incident just a month before, Louisiana, Brown, a 76-year-old man in a New Orleans hospital, passed away in an elevator that dropped suddenly while he was being wheeled out for surgery. The issues with Christus St. Joseph's elevators were long-standing. In September 1994, a woman named Pamela Scott had a severe knee injury when an elevator that wasn't level with the floor caused her to slip. Inspectors deemed it unsafe and shut it down immediately. In November of the same year, another elevator, number 15, caused injuries to a woman named Cecil Wilcox when it stopped 6 inches below the floor, making her fall and injure her back, knee, and shoulder. Both cases highlighted ongoing maintenance failures. Dr. Nikaido's tragic passing drew significant attention to Christus St. Joseph's neglected elevator upkeep. Investigators discovered that elevator number 14 was a month overdue for its annual inspection. Ron Steele, the state's chief elevator inspector, uncovered 22 code violations in the elevator machine room, including greasy rags, open electrical connections, and a missing generator guard. Even more concerning, misconnected wires allowed the elevator to move with doors open, tricking its safety system into thinking they were closed. The trauma Steinau faced was unimaginable, and her account of Nikaido's expression remained deeply troubling. This incident brought serious scrutiny to elevator safety practices, especially in hospitals where reliable maintenance is critical. In Texas, elevator incidents are far more frequent than many realize. Just the year before Dr. Nikaido's accident, Texas recorded 256 elevator and escalator-related incidents. In the last 4 years, 4 fatalities had occurred from these incidents, including construction workers fatally injured by unexpected elevator movements in Fort Worth and San Antonio. Conflicting witness accounts also added complexity to understanding Dr. Nikaido's last moments. Dr. Kanan L. Harris, outside the elevator, believed Nikaido had tried to hold the doors open with his arms and leg, but Steinau, inside, thought he became trapped while entering. The family's attorney, Howard Nations, questioned Harris's view, noting the lack of bruising on Nikaido's leg. Following a ruling by the Harris County Medical Examiner's Office citing blunt force injuries, a lawsuit was filed against the elevator's manufacturer and maintenance team. It showed the negligence and maintenance failures that contributed to this tragedy. The incident was a grim reminder of the need for strict safety protocols and consistent maintenance to avoid similar accidents. The malfunction that led to Nikaido's untimely death underscored the importance of rigorous inspections and repairs in all public facilities, especially hospitals, to ensure safety. On January 6, 1995, a cold morning in the Bronx, New York City, 55-year-old James Godfrey Cheneau, a Vietnam War veteran and longtime welfare clerk, prepared for his shift at the Kingsbridge Welfare Center. As he entered the building around 9 a.m., employees and visitors were starting their day in a building with a history of infrastructure problems, particularly with its old and often malfunctioning elevators. That morning, James joined a group of people waiting for an elevator. This specific elevator had recently passed an inspection in November 1994, though employees had reported frequent issues, including instances of being stuck. Despite these concerns, James calmly entered the elevator, which had caused so much unease among the staff. Once inside, James and the other passengers noticed something felt off as the elevator started moving upward. Approaching the second floor, the elevator stopped abruptly, but it didn't align correctly with the floor, instead halting slightly above it, creating a dangerous gap. The doors opened to reveal the misalignment, heightening the sense of alarm. Always known for his helpfulness, James took it upon himself to help others exit safely. He positioned himself between the elevator and the second floor, steadying the door with his back. James successfully helped one woman out of the elevator, but when another passenger's foot became caught, he quickly tried to assist her as well. Then, unexpectedly, the elevator lurched upward with the doors still open. Tragically, James was caught between floors, with only his head remaining inside the elevator. His body fell into the lobby below, while the two remaining passengers in the elevator were taken, horrified, up to the 9th floor, witnessing a traumatic and haunting scene. One of the passengers later recounted, "I can't get it out of my mind. His head was there, but his body wasn't. He still had his Walkman earphones on." This image left a terrifying impact on those who survived and witnessed the tragic event. For James's colleagues, the loss was deeply felt. Known for his kindness and calm demeanor, James was a respected figure at the welfare center. His untimely and tragic death shook the entire staff, stirring grief and anger, particularly as many knew of the building's persistent elevator problems. A repairman had been scheduled to work on the elevators that very day, but he arrived too late to prevent this tragedy. The malfunction only underscored the need for more stringent safety protocols, especially in a building with a long history of such issues. In the wake of James's passing, it became painfully clear that maintenance efforts had been insufficient, despite passing safety inspections just 2 months prior. The incident prompted a broader examination of elevator safety, with the city's Department of Buildings and other agencies called into question over their oversight of elevator maintenance in public buildings. People demanded to know how such a tragedy could occur, particularly with the history of recurring problems. This was not the first malfunctioning elevator incident in the city, but it highlighted the life-threatening risks posed by machinery that goes unchecked. For James, his final moments showed his courage and willingness to help others, even in the face of extreme danger. His death shed light on the urgent need for better safety regulations and maintenance standards to prevent such accidents from happening again. This tragic event reminded the public of the importance of regular inspections and strict adherence to maintenance protocols in protecting lives and ensuring safety in everyday spaces. It was June 3, 2006 in Tokyo, Japan. 16-year-old Hirosuke Ichikawa had just finished his usual baseball practice and was heading home. He lived with his family in the City Heights Takashiba Public Housing Complex in Minato Ward. As an active teenager with a passion for baseball, he looked forward to sharing the day's events with his mother, Masako. But tragically, this would be his final journey home. Hirosuke entered the elevator to reach their apartment on the 12th floor. As he was backing his bicycle out, the elevator suddenly malfunctioned. While the doors were still open, it shot upwards unexpectedly, pinning him between the floor and the doorframe. Nearby, residents heard the sounds and rushed over, but Hirosuke's injuries were fatal. Masako was cooking when she heard the sound of sirens approaching her building. Rushing downstairs, she was faced with a devastating scene. Her son had been fatally injured in the elevator. First responders tried to save him, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. The community was deeply affected by this tragic incident, and the accident raised widespread concerns about elevator safety. The elevator involved in the accident was manufactured by Schindler Elevator KK, the Japanese subsidiary of a Swiss-based company. It turned out that this elevator had a history of mechanical issues. Following the accident, authorities launched an investigation, and soon the case became a national matter, sparking debates over maintenance and safety standards. The investigation revealed that maintenance issues with the elevator had been ongoing and poorly addressed. The Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism initially hesitated to take action, but public outrage demanded their intervention. However, the bureaucratic process was slow, adding to the frustration of Hirosuke's family. Determined to ensure her son's death wasn't in vain, Masako chose to avoid the elevator altogether. Every day she climbed 264 steps to her apartment, unable to trust the elevator that had taken her son's life. In December 2008, she and her family filed a civil lawsuit against Schindler Elevator KK, the maintenance firm SEC Elevator, and Tokyo's Minato Ward, which owned the building. They sought 250 million yen in damages, holding the defendants accountable under product liability laws. The legal journey was long and exhausting, From 2013 onwards, the Tokyo District Court held 56 hearings. Masako attended every session, determined to uncover the truth and demand accountability. During the criminal trial in 2015, the chairman of SEC Elevator and 2 other employees were found responsible. However, a former Schindler official was acquitted, leading prosecutors to appeal the decision. Taking the case to the Tokyo High Court, Masako and other parents from the community launched a petition demanding stricter elevator regulations and a thorough safety investigation. Their efforts gathered 460,000 signatures, demonstrating strong public support. In 2013, the newly formed Consumer Safety Investigation Commission took up Hirosuke's case as its first major investigation, a significant step in addressing the issue. Finally, a settlement was reached between Hirosuke's family, Schindler Elevator, SEC Elevator, and Minato Ward. Although no official apology was given, the settlement included expressions of regret and a promise to prevent similar incidents. Part of the compensation was also used to establish a foundation focused on elevator safety, a small victory in Masako's fight for change. Masako's mission to advocate for elevator safety continued even after the settlement. Though her health declined over the years, likely impacted by the daily climb up and down the stairs, she remained active in her cause. She lost her husband Kazutami at the age of 59, who had been a source of strength throughout her journey. Even so, she continued attending court hearings, supported by close friends and community members. In 2014, the Koyamadai High School baseball team, which Hirosuke had been part of, honored his memory by competing in the National Invitational High School Baseball Tournament. Their appearance at the Koshien Stadium fulfilled a shared dream of bringing their teammates' spirit to the field, bringing some sense of peace and pride to his family. As Masako reflected on the tragic event, she was haunted by unanswered questions. What if there had been better elevator maintenance? Could stricter safety regulations have saved her son? These questions lingered, but they also fueled her ongoing dedication to preventing future accidents and ensuring no other family would endure the same loss. It was July 28, 2014, in the South Bronx, New York City. Tito Morales, a 20-year-old with a passion for tattoo artistry, had just visited his girlfriend, Joanna Sanchez, at the Adams Houses, a residential building with known issues, especially with its elevators. That night, Tito left Joanna's apartment around 3 a.m. to quickly buy cigarettes, unaware it would be his last trip. Tito, who went by Bibo among friends, was familiar with the Adams House's elevator problems. Residents frequently reported that the elevators moved unpredictably, often getting stuck or malfunctioning. Tito had first-hand experience with these issues, yet he chose to use the elevator for his late-night errand. Around 4 a.m., emergency responders were called to the building. Tito was found unconscious, trapped between the elevator car and the shaft wall, between the 18th and 19th floors. The scene was described as devastating, and he was pronounced dead at the site. Initially, the New York City Housing Authority, or NYCA, handed the investigation to the New York City Police Department. Early reports suggested Tito might have been elevator surfing, a dangerous activity where people ride atop moving elevator cars. This risky practice is often compared to a roller coaster ride, but comes with much greater risk. However, Joanna later shared that Tito had used the elevator in the typical way. She explained that the elevator stopped, trapping Tito, and he climbed on top in an attempt to escape. Unfortunately, the elevator started moving unexpectedly, throwing him up and then down, where he became stuck between the car and the shaft wall. The building's residents were, sadly, not surprised by the accident. Many had experienced being trapped in the elevators and, in desperation, resorted to using the top hatch to escape. One resident commented on how fast the doors shut, saying people had to jump in quickly. Other tenants shared stories of being trapped for hours inside, often with no way out but through the top. After Tito's death, his friends and neighbors gathered, filled with grief and disbelief. A friend recalled seeing ambulances at 5 a.m. and initially thought there had been a fire. The sad reality hit when they learned it was Tito. Joanna's sister, who was also there, saw the tragic event unfold, recalling her attempts to stop the elevator and prevent further harm to Tito. She described the sight of him as deeply distressing. In the days that followed, residents expressed their frustrations openly. Evangelita Presinal, a friend of Tito and fellow resident, mentioned her experiences with the unreliable elevators, stating they were unsafe. Another resident, Davis Lamont, recounted times the doors would not open, or the elevators would move erratically, creating a continuous risk for residents. The last recorded inspection of the Adams House's elevators had been in January 2013, more than a year before Tito's accident. Despite the known malfunctions, these elevators continued to operate, placing tenants in regular danger. Tito's untimely death is a chilling reminder of the hazards associated with faulty elevator systems. On social media, Tito's profile showcased his tattoo art, reflecting his dedication and skill. Friends remembered him as a humble, talented person, excited about life and committed to his work. Tito's older brother shared his sorrow on Facebook, expressing disbelief and grief over the unexpected loss of his younger sibling. The day of Tito's accident saw around 30 people gathering to watch as his body was removed from the building. The scene was deeply emotional, with friends and family members embracing and crying. The heartbroken cry of a woman, "Mi niño, mi niño," echoed through the crowd, capturing the profound loss felt by all who knew Tito. The New York City Police Department considered the possibility that Tito may have attempted to move from the top of one elevator to another, possibly miscalculating the distance. This tragic misstep led to him being wedged between the elevator car and the shaft wall. The medical examiner's office was assigned to determine the exact cause of Tito's passing, though the circumstances underscored the inherent dangers of tampering with or attempting to escape faulty elevator systems. November 7, 2009, Williamsburg, Brooklyn, New York. Drummer Gerhard "Jerry" Fuchs, 34, attended a benefit party at 338 Berry Street, raising funds to support education for underprivileged children in India. Known in the indie rock world, Fuchs was beloved for his drumming with bands like Turing Machine, the Juan McClain, and LCD Sound System. That night would be his last. Jerry was born on December 31, 1974, and showed musical talent from a young age, especially on drums. After high school, he attended the University of Georgia, studying graphic design and playing in local bands like the Martians, Space Cookie, and Concac. In 1996, he moved to New York City to pursue music seriously, joining the band Vineland, and eventually becoming a fixture in the Williamsburg music scene. He played for multiple bands, each performance further establishing his reputation as a skilled and dedicated musician. As Fuchs's career grew, he became affiliated with DFA Records and joined the dance punk band Chuk Chuk Chuk, contributing to their album Myth Takes. He also played with the Juan McClain Holy Ghost and toured with LCD Sound System and Mastercraft. His unique drumming style, combining disco and motoric rhythms, made him highly sought after and respected. At the benefit party that November night, Fuchs was in a good mood, fresh off a U.S. tour with the band Maserati and excited for upcoming projects. The gathering took place in a mixed-use building, and later in the evening, Fuchs and another guest ended up in a freight elevator. Around 12:30 a.m. on November 8th, the elevator unexpectedly stopped between the 4th and 5th floors. Fuchs and his friend discussed how to exit safely. After a few moments, his friend jumped down to the 5th floor, landing without issue. When Fuchs attempted to follow, his clothes became caught on something, causing him to lose balance and tragically fall down the elevator shaft. The friend immediately called for help. Fuchs was discovered face down at the shaft's bottom. A member of his band, Holy Ghost, was among the first to reach him, flipping him over to find him still alive but unable to speak. They stayed with him, offering comfort while they rushed him to Bellevue Hospital. Despite medical efforts, Jerry was pronounced dead at 3:30 a.m. News of Fuchs's passing deeply affected the Williamsburg music community and beyond. Friends and colleagues mourned the loss of not only a talented musician, but a beloved friend and community figure. Todd Patrick, a prominent Brooklyn music organizer, described him as someone who formed friendships effortlessly, emphasizing the significant void his death left. Local DJ Cheryl Whitland from Sneak Attack Media shared that the entire community felt the profound loss of someone who was the heartbeat of the Williamsburg scene. The Department of Buildings investigated the elevator incident, finding no mechanical issues. However, the building's history raised concerns, as it had a record of violations, including 10 related to the elevator, the most recent issued only days before the incident. Despite these past violations, the elevator was deemed functional, with no open violations at the time of the accident. Tributes to Fuchs poured in from the music world in the days following. James Murphy of LCD Sound System remarked on Fuchs's talent, calling him one of the only people we all knew who was literally great at what he did. John Fine, a close friend, praised his versatility and the noticeable absence his death brought to the Brooklyn music scene. The Juan McClain shared a heartfelt tribute, remembering Fuchs as a loyal and sincere friend. Fuchs's legacy was honored in various ways. LCD Sound System dedicated their third album, This Is Happening, to his memory. Holy Ghost paid tribute with the song Jam for Jerry on their debut album. The band This Will Destroy You also dedicated their album Tunnel Blanket in his honor. Jerry's impact endures in the music he helped create and in the memories of those who knew him.